Olo corsi il bagno. Olo che Olo. For the next week. For the next week. For the next week. About a month since the last event, so I figure it's okay to talk about it now. It all started when me and my friend Joel decided to explore that field. Turns out we should have just stayed out. We went in there one sunny afternoon because we were looking for adventure, and adventure was exactly what we got. We noticed that the further out we walked, the more dead the grass looked, and the more skinny the cows were. But we didn't care because we hated cows, and dead cows were good cows. That barely makes sense, but anyways. After we had walked about 4 miles, we started to get suspicious of something. The grass started to turn into dead grass. The dead grass started to turn into dirt. The skinny cows started to turn into dead cows. And the dead cows started to turn into skeletons of cows. Oh, we hated cows so much. But we started to have this suspicion that something was wrong with this field. but we felt safe because Joel had brought his crossbow. We love crossbows almost as much as we hate cows. No fear. So we kept on walking, and by then the dirt had turned into sand, and the bushes had turned into cactus. We were in the desert. And just as we considered turning around and going back home, we looked behind us, and there was nothing but miles of desert. The whole landscape had changed right behind us. We were totally scared, except not that scared because Joel had his crossbow. We love crossbows so much. We decided we had no other options but to just keep walking. So, we kept on walking straight through the desert. Suddenly, we happened upon a castle, just kind of laying there in the middle of the desert. And we decided, well, what other options do we have? Maybe there's a water fountain inside there. And so Joel was like, oh crap. No, I'm just kidding. Get back here. anyways, let me just So anyways, we walked up to the castle. Excuse me? No, I'm sorry. We walked up to the castle, and there was a huge drawbridge, but no moat. We found that about as hilarious, about as much as we love crossbows, about as much as we love cows. And no, wait, just kidding, we hate cows. That was the point earlier. But, we walked up to the door, and it was so massive that we were like, what should we do? It seems a little strange to just knock on it. But then Joel reasoned, he was like, let's do it. Okay, so we did it, and, I'm digging it. We knocked on the door. And we waited for about 5 minutes. Suddenly, an old man answered the door, which means the entire drawbridge fell, so we had to get out of the way. And he's like, "What are you kids doing here in this desert? You shouldn't be here." You'll hear that later. And, we were like, we appear to be lost in this very vast desert that by no means has any reason to be here. We'd like to get home, but first, we need some water. Do you have a water fountain in your castle? And the old man was like, this is a castle. Are you... Of course we have water fountains. We have 1,000 on each floor. So then we were like, great, and we started to walk in, but then he blocked our way. He was like, whoa, hold on. What makes you think you can just walk in here? And I was gonna reason, well, sir, may we please, we'll be on our way out. But then Joel just took out his crossbow and he was like, because you're an old man and we're 2 kids and I got a crossbow, that's 3 reasons why you should let us in. And the old man was like, fine. Us into the castle. The temperature decreased dramatically as soon as we stepped in, because hot desert, cold castle. Dude, that should be the name of this album. And I don't know. Okay. We continued to walk, and we said, "Hey, old man," and he said, "My name is Jeeves," and we were like, "Hey, old man, where are the water fountains?" He sighed, and he pointed us down one of the hallways. It doesn't get evil yet. And, so we went down the hallway. And we saw a water fountain on the wall. And we were like, good, let's... hydrated. Let's get that. Joel went up to the water fountain first. He took a bunch of big gulps of water and then passed out on the floor. from some kind of poisoning. However, I'm not a very fast thinker, so it didn't occur to me that he had been poisoned. So I just kicked his body out of the way and got a few gulps of water myself. Next thing I knew, I woke up inside some kind of really dirty room, and I was chained to the table. Suddenly, Jeeves, the old man, he walks in and he's wearing a tuxedo like a psychopath, and he's holding Joel's crossbow, and he says, "I have your crossbow now, and I'm going to shoot some cows with it." And I looked at Joel, who was right next to me, and we were like, I'm conflicted. So we love that crossbow, but we hate cows so much. So Jeeves left the room, and he closed the door behind him. And then this happened. I'm sorry. So, after he left the room, Joel and I looked at each other and we were like, first of all, what is this place? Second of all, what the heck is Jeeves? Other than an old man. And third of all, we need to figure out how to get out of here. And Joel was like, don't worry. I palmed one of my arrows for my crossbow. I'm currently using it to cut through the ropes. But that's kind of hard since it's not really sharp on the edges. It's just point whatever. So he was, trying to get his ropes loose. And then he did it. He got loose. He cut loose. And he kicked off his Sunday shoes. Don't look at me, I'm just kidding. Start out with something simple. So I was like, awesome, Joel, you got free. Now untie your feet and stuff. So he did, and he jumped off the table, and he was so happy he was free. He was just jumping around and just knocking all the furniture over. And I was like, great, now untie my ropes and set me free. But it was too late. He had already just run out of the room. I should mention that Joel was a little self-absorbed. So I was stuck there on that table still. So I was like, well, looks like I'm gonna have to do this the hard way. So I struggled like crazy. And I must have done that for about 40 minutes when it felt like some of the ropes were coming loose. Eventually, I got free, and I got off the table. And then, I went out in the hallways and started looking for Joel. Because we just simply had to get out of there. And then, after a while of getting lost in all the hallways, I finally heard some footsteps. And I hid just in case it was a monster. And it was a monster. That's all that happened there. But, then I got up, walked through the hallways more. And I heard more footsteps. So I cautiously turned the corner and looked, and there was Joel, running for his life. He was sweating, he was clearly panicked. And I jumped out around the corner, and it scared the crap out of him. But I was like, Joel, there you are. Why did you leave without me? And Joel didn't seem to comprehend that. So he was like, he's gone crazy, run. And I was like, who's gone crazy? Jeeves? He's just an old man. And then I saw Jeeves turn the corner, and he had the crossbow, and he was shooting at Joel. And me, I guess, since I was right there too. It was so intense and evil. We started running down the hallway. Dodged an arrow, ran, dodged another arrow. Good job. Good job. So, we continued running. And eventually, we both decided to duck into a room. We were just running, and all of a sudden, we were in a room, and we waited. And we saw Jeeves run by the room. We had lost him. He was still shooting arrows wildly at nothing, leading us to realize this man has no diplomacy. That doesn't even make sense. I'm digging it. So after we waited a good long while, I said to Joel, hey man, I think now's our chance. We've probably lost him pretty well. We should just try to find the entrance and get out of here. Exit through the entrance. I didn't go to school. And Joel was like, no man, we can't leave until I get my crossbow back. We gotta get it back from Jeeves. Meta. And he was like, I was like, but dude, I love that crossbow too, almost as much as I hate cows. And then he was like, it's not the same for you. You haven't had that crossbow your whole life. You haven't had to pay for it. And I was like, son, you didn't pay for it either. Your dad got it for you. I got slapped. But, eventually I agreed with him because I love him. And we started looking for Jeeves. We picked up a prod from the fireplace nearby. That was our weapon. Geniuses. So, eventually we found him, and he was talking to the monster that I had passed by earlier. And he gave the monster photos of us. I don't know where he got those photos. And he said, if you see these two children, you must destroy them at all costs. Also, take this crossbow. I'm going to go to the dining room and get a tea. So, we were like, great. Taking it from Jeeves would have been hard enough, but now we gotta take it from that monster. What are we going to do to kill the monster? Joel was so angry and filled with such hatred for cows that he just wanted to attack the monster. I tried to reason with him that this was a bad idea, but it was too late. He was already chasing after the monster. And before he could land a hit on the monster with the firewood prod thingy, whatever that thing's called, the monster smacked him and Joel flew against the wall. And it was intense. I was like, this could be a movie. So Joel was KO'd. All I had was a vodka bottle. And the monster turned and looked at me, and I was like, but then I quickly just dropped the bottle. I'm not actually gonna drink. I swear I don't drink. And I took off down the hallway, and I felt bad because I was leaving Joel behind. But then I remembered he left me behind, so freaking payback, sweet revenge. Go for it. No, it doesn't work. I continued to run down hallways, thinking, one of these rooms has got to have something that can kill that monster. Suddenly I found a room that had a big cabinet, and I looked inside of it, and there were guns, lots of guns, and I was like, alright. I'll take this sawed-off shotgun. And I'm gonna go kill that monster. I'm gonna go kill that monster. Dude, they're right here. And I ran back down the hallways. Those were my footsteps. I continued running down the hallway. Stopped to get a drink of water. And then I passed out. Just kidding, that didn't happen. I ran and ran and ran. Finally, I had found the monster. And he had picked up Joel's knocked out body. And was just flinging him in the air like a toy. Just similar to that. And I came up with the shotgun. And I was like, put Joel down. And yeah, just put him down. We'll start with that. And the monster just roared at me and threatened like this to rip Joel apart. He was a big monster. So I was like, I have a gun. I'm mad at my friend. I'll shoot him anyways. The monster sat there and just processed this. And then he put Joel down. And then I shot him. And then I shot the monster. No, I didn't shoot Joel. Unfortunately, it barely fazed the monster. It didn't hurt him, but more like it just annoyed him. So I shot him again, and again, and again, and again, and again, and again. Good job. And after a while, it started to weaken him. And Joel had just started to woke up. And then I was like, Joel, get your fireplace thing. Let's finish this. And Joel, like, as the monster was running towards me and about to attack me, Joel jumped up behind him and stabbed him in the back of the neck. This incapacitated the monster instantly. Cool. And yes. The monster was dead. And we were so happy. Unfortunately, Joel's crossbow had broken. So Joel was still in tears. And I was like, thanks for saving my life, brah. And he was like, my crossbow, it's broken. And I was like, now we can get out of here. And he was like, my crossbow, it's broken. And I was like, hey man, look, when this is over, I'll buy you a new one. I got all the money, all of it. And Joel was like, my crossbow. So I knew what I had to do. I took the fireplace prod from Joel, and he didn't notice that I had taken it right out of his hands, because he was like, my crossbow. And I just hit him in the back of the head, and he got knocked out. And then I picked him up and just flung him over my shoulder, and I walked through the hallways, and I found myself back at the entrance hall where we had come in. And Jeeves was sitting there holding his tea, and he said, where do you think you're going? And I said, out. This place is stupid, and why did you do this to us? And he was like, I'm sorry, I have a twisted sense of humor. We never get guests here. And I said, I killed your monster. And Jeeves started to cry. I sat watching him cry for like 5 minutes, and then I was like, okay, so anyways, I'm leaving. We opened the drawbridge, and we walked out. Or I walked out, and I carried Joel. I walked through the desert, unsure if it was ever going to lead back home. Suddenly, I noticed the sand had turned into dirt. And the dirt had started to turn into dead grass. And I noticed some cow skeletons. And then the dead grass had turned into regular grass. And I saw healthy cows. And I was like, I am conflicted. It's cool that we're getting back home, but dang, these cows are alive. If only we had Joel's crossbow, we could put an end to this. But Joel was fast asleep, or perhaps he was dead. But I carried him And finally found our way back home. We got back home, and I laid Joel down on the couch. And I thought, you know, the world isn't so bad. And I started to play a video game. And right at that moment, the apocalypse happened. Good night.